Okay, here we go. Section 2.7, performing calculations. So we will do quite a bit of math with this, but not like a ton of difficult math. The math problems that we're going to do are will be relatively simple things. So I don't want you to think of this class being a math class, but we do perform some math calculations. So with that, there are some different things that we need to take a look at and how our math operators work in Python. So just starting out, math operators are as you see, your tool for performing calculations. So these are our things that we're going to use, the pluses, the minuses, the divides, all that kind of good stuff. And we'll look at division here in a second. But and then we have operands. So if you see this, you're just talking about the values around those operators. And typically we'll use variables. So we'll do a lot of calculations using variables, especially variables that have been input by the user. So using the input function and taking a value from the user, how much they earn per hour, how many hours they work this week, multiply those together, give us, gross pay or whatever. So those are the kind of things that we'll do. And in each problem we're doing that, I'll give you, if it's a complicated formula, I'll give it to you, but we don't usually try and have anything like that. So real simple stuff. Okay, so here's the thing though. When it comes to divide, you're going to use this key right here. So we have our little slash key that we're going to use, and we'll also use the double slash key. And it's really kind of weird. For the most part, you're going to use just one, okay? And that's going to give you floating point. So we're that, in other words, decimal places. So this is the one you want. It's the most accurate for what we're going to do for most things. But there will be times where you want this one, which is a double, and it will return an integer. And it's a little bit strange in the way this works. So I put these little things into, let me roll over here real quick. I put it into Python Tutor so you can see how this works. And I'm going to read this once and we'll come back to this. Okay, so positive results are truncated. And you'll see how that works. Truncated just honestly just means cut off. That's the way I like to think about it. But the negative is floored, which means it is going to round away from zero towards negative infinity. If you are a math major and you love flooring, or you want to learn more about flooring, great, good for you. We will not use this much. In fact, we will not use this at all in this introductory course. All right, so let me show you. Although we will use this, we'll use the double with the integer, and we'll use a modulus operator to get the remainder, but that's later on, once you're really familiar with this stuff. But I wanted to show you how this works. Okay, so let me go over to Python Tutor, and here we go. So we have each one of these, and I want to show you how this works. So we have, you notice up here we have one slash, and then these both have two. Same things, right? So when I hit visualize, you'll see how this works. My very first one in here, 5/2, right, divided by 2, gives us 2.5, okay, which is perfect. This is the way you want to do it 99% of the time, all right? So we'll have a few exceptions, but for the most part, we're doing it this way, okay? If you use -5, okay, so one of them is negative, look at that, minus 2.5. Not rocket science, right? Like, I think you guys got that part down. So let's go ahead and take a look at when you double this up. And this is where it gets a little bit weird. So 5/2, so divided by using the integer division. If I hit next, this is 2. So it does not round. Okay, so 2.5, it will not round and give you 3. All right, it cuts off. So here's what I want you to think about when you're doing this. And this won't come up till later, but I want to talk about this right now just really quickly. Um, when you use this, it just chops it off. So think decimal place and just this gets cut, like gone, doesn't exist, right? And it just gives you the 2. This is where it gets super weird though. Line 5, -5//2, right? So divided by 2 using the integer division. Watch this one. Boom, -3. So not -2.5, -3. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about flooring. So rounds away from zero towards negative infinity. And once again, if you're not a math major, or even if you are a math major and you don't care about this, like it doesn't matter. We're not going to use that. I don't expect you to know that, but that's the logic behind it. So I just wanted to cover that. We are going to use the single slash for division for almost everything. We will use this with modulus, and I'll talk about the modulus operator in a little bit. But anyway, so that's that. So if you're wondering, like, this is just super weird, I just wanted to show you, yeah, it's definitely strange. But let's do some simple math, okay? So this little program titled Simple Math. Let's take a look at this. Okay, here's our code. So remember we're using comments to set stuff up and let everyone know what's going on. So that's what these hashtags are in here. So make sure you do that in your code as you're going through and practicing this stuff. Okay, so we have this. We're assigning a value to the salary variable. We're calling it 2,500. Notice it's dot zero, so we're forcing a float. So it'll store our decimal places for us when we calculate or whatever we want to do with it. Okay, and then we're doing the same thing with bonus. Here we go, 1,200, dot zero again. So this is another float. Then we have a new variable called pay that we're going to say we want to add these up. So we have a plus right here. Okay, so plus, minus, if you use the asterisk key, which is the shift 8, this little star, that's our multiply. So we can do that. But for this one, we're just adding them up, and then we're going to print this out. So to see how this works really quickly, we have salary, bonus, here pay is stored, and then we are printing that out. Okay, so just a really simple math problem, and that's the way most of our stuff will be. So don't sweat it too much. We're not gonna talk about rounding away from zero towards negative infinity very much. All right, so let's just move on. Let's move on. Okay, so what about math order of operations? Okay, so here's some of the things that we're going to do, and we'll talk about precedence. So if you're trying to use an exponent, you're going to use 2 stars. Okay, so and I'll show you that in a second, an example of that. But here we go. So you see the order that things go through. We've got multiply, we've got division, both styles, remainder, which you see this percent key, not percent key in Python. It's actually called the modulus operator, and it's used to find the remainder. We'll do that a little bit later, not today for sure. And then of course we have add and subtract, so we've got that kind of stuff. So it's going to execute similar to how you would normally do a math problem. If you're ever concerned about how the order is going to work, add parentheses. Force it to do what you want it to do. Okay, so we'll just throw that out there. Let's take a look at another program, just because. Okay, as we're rolling along here. Okay, so this one, I put this in Python Tutor. Here we go. So takes an original item's price, calculates a sales price with a 20% discount. Okay, so again, notice on this one, we're taking an input from the user this time, forcing a float. So just a quick review, float with a parenthesis right here, closing parenthesis over here. The input function is inside of this, asking the user to enter the price. Behind the scenes, it calculates discount by taking this value that's entered by the user right here, multiplying it by 0.2. That's our discount amount. And then the sales price, or sale price, is original price minus the discount. Obviously, there's different ways of doing this, but this is just one way. And then here we go, printing this out, just the sale price. So watching this work, we're going to come up here and we're going to say, okay, what's the original value? I don't know. I'm going to say $86.89. I don't know. And once I hit submit, there's my original price. Boom, right there. If I hit next, there's the discount amount that they calculated for me. And it's going to go ahead and give me the sale price here and then print it out here. So we want the computer to do the work for us as we're going through these things. Oh, by the way, notice how this looks a little sloppy? Don't worry about rounding numbers or any of that kind of stuff. Stopping this at 2 decimal places. We will do that later in the chapter. For now, don't worry about it. Okay. So we'll deal with that next week. All right. So just let it roll. Not a big deal. Okay. Now, this is just, like I said, just one way of doing it. Obviously, you can calculate this other ways, but you get the idea of the computer doing the work for us. That's why we like when we take the input from the user. Remember, if we were hard coding this and I said my original price equals 86.89 in the code, then it's only run one time, and then if I want to change it, then I have to go in and change the code and mess with it that way. This is beauty. All I do is execute, run this little baby and enter in whatever number I'd like at the beginning, and it does all my work for me. So pretty cool stuff. Okay, let's look at another one. All right, this one's called test average. So this one is going to take 3 test scores and assign them to these particular variables. Notice this is done with commenting again. Okay, so here are the 3 variables. Notice the same basic input statement here. Here we have our prompt. So the input function is right here. So we have the opening parenthesis, the prompt that we're getting here for this particular one, and closing the quote again that opened here, then close the parenthesis, then float is being forced on the outside of that. Okay, so it's going to get all three of those, just first, second, third. Then it's going to come down here and it's going to calculate these. So the average equals, and it's going to take all three of these, divide by 3.0. Okay, so that will give us the average number here. So I'm going to say, I'm going to come down here. Here's the first one, and my first test score. Ooh, we'll, we'll say it's out of 50. Okay, so that was out of 50. I don't know why I put 45. That's our scale. We're out of 50 here. So I'm pretending I'm a really good student. I have all these things. I don't know why I did that every time, but anyway, whatever. So we've got all those. So there are my values that are being stored. They were entered right here, prompted us to do all this. Here they're being stored. Now our next one you'll see average, which is right here, was just calculated. Notice this was forced. Open the parenthesis, close the parenthesis, so I could add these all up, then divide by 3. Okay, so my average was 46.7. Seems good. Remember, out of 50. Remember, and then we're gonna go ahead and print this, which we'll show here. Again, we don't care about this right now. We'll fix this next week. All right. For now, I just want to see that you can get this kind of stuff done, and that's what we're going to be practicing. Okay, so that was test score in here. Let's look at exponent. If you're going to do an exponent, we won't do a whole lot of this, but just so you know how to do it, if you want to take x to the y, so let's say we had 5 to the third power, right? So the way you would write that is 5 star star, so asterisk asterisk, and then 3 right here, and that's the same thing as saying 5 to the third power. That's the way you'd use this one. The modulus operator, we will go over this. This is a really kind of a funky one because it's only coming back with the remainder. You write it like it's a division equation, okay? And that's what it's doing essentially, but it's only giving us the remainder. It's returning the remainder. This is super useful, and when we get to this stuff and where we're actually using this, you'll see it's pretty cool. So like as an example, and it's modulus or mod. Most people just refer to it as mod. Here's the way this works. So if I say 5 mod 2, that's the way you'd read that. So 5 mod 2. Remember, it's like a divide. So it's dividing this, and if we were dividing this, we'd get 2.5, right? But 5 mod 2, the result is 1 because that's the remainder. Okay, out of here we're taking 4. We have a 1 as a remainder. So that's it right there. So like on this one, 4 mod 2, there is no remainder. So the answer would come back as 0. And I just want to show you this program just because it's really pretty cool. And if you want to play with it, I put the link in, but it's the next one. These kind of things are typically converting times and distances or to tell if it's an odd or even number. So if you use a mod equation and you're asking if it's an odd or even number, if it comes back with a 1 as a remainder, then it's going to be, obviously an odd number. If it comes back with a 0, then it's an even number because you're dividing by 2. So just a few examples of what you might do. But check, this program is kind of fun, this time converter one. So on this one, what you're doing, asking for a number of seconds, okay? And then we're dividing that so that we get how many hours are in there. Because we want to say how many hours this is, then how many minutes, and how many seconds. So on this one, you can see on the next one, we're going ahead dividing this using integer division by 60, then using mod right here to figure out how many minutes, then how many seconds. Again, we're not doing this just yet, but if you want to just see how it works, I put the link in here for you to be able to play with. Okay, so and that's over here, and it's kind of fun. So I just ran this once and put some random number in here, and it calculated out that this is 12 hours, 39 minutes, 28 seconds. Okay, so anyway, it's kind of a fun one, but anyway, we're gonna deal with mod and some examples a little bit later on. In fact, next chapter we do a really kind of a fun program that uses mod, so I think you guys will like it. Anyway, okay, so let's talk very quickly. One last thing. And the only thing I really want to say about this, it's going to follow math order operations. Just looks a little bit different with the way that we have to write it out, type it out. So add parentheses. Okay, so if you need to add parentheses to make sure things get done correctly, go ahead and do that. Okay, so it's not really that big a deal to do. Okay, so let's practice some of this. All right, so we'll practice again. We're gonna do simple stuff. All right, for now, but I'm going to have you do a couple of programs. So these will be homework assignments for you this week. You'll see these in Canvas. The first one is a little miles per gallon calculator, and you'll see that in Canvas, and you'll also see the sales prediction one as well. So follow what it says in Canvas so that you can see how this works. This one you'll notice has a video that goes along with it. So if you get stuck, try and do it on your own first. And then if you get stuck at any point, just roll up to the video. And this is actually Tony Gaddis, our author, walking you through how to do this program. Okay, so that should help you quite a bit. But anyway, you'll see in Canvas the assignments that you are supposed to do, and that's about it for this little video. So hopefully you enjoy this. Have fun making these programs.